Mark awoke to a sound and, lifting his head, began to look around. Jessica, lying next to him, muttered sleepily, "Someone's calling on the phone. There's a do not disturb sign on the door. By the way, whose room are we in?" "It's yours, so you answer the call." "What if it's your wife?" "I told my husband yesterday not to bother me until morning because I have a headache and I'm going to sleep." "What a night it was, Mark. And where is my phone?" "Look on the table and don't bother me. In 2 hours, we need to go to the airport. And for future reference, we can't mix drinking with sleeping." "Oh, come on. When you're a little drunk, you're so uninhibited," Mark replied. "That's because I love my husband. But when I drink, I forget about everything," Jessica said. "I love my wife too, but with you, I forget about everything even without drinking." The phone is ringing again. "Pick it up, Jessica." Jessica, unleashing a stream of curses, got up and picked up the phone. "Hello. I'm listening. Good morning. How is that good? It's 7 a.m., maybe not so good for you, but they woke me up at 4 a.m. Let me talk to Mark." "Which Mark?" "There's no one here by that name," Jessica lied, glancing at Mark who was in bed with his head under the pillow. "Tell him it's his sister, Linda." Jessica looked at Mark, who got up, covered himself with a blanket, and took the phone. "Hello, Linda. How did you find me? Is that important? What matters is that you're in a mess. Connect the phone and read the text from your wife. Everything. I'll sleep after 5 a.m. Wow. What is your love writing now? Let me open it. Here it says, 'Call me when you wake up.' Though there's no particular need, your things and your mistress's junk are in the garage. Your sister refused to take them to work. Don't rush. Today I'm calling a meeting and relieving you of your duties. Call me before you come to pick up your things. I'll open the garage since your key no longer works." Mark jumped up as sleep instantly left him. Jessica asked him, "What things? What mistress? Do you have someone else?" "No, there's no one else," Mark insisted. "What things?" "I don't know. Call your wife and find out. Take your things and hide. She might demand to see the room on video call. You're in my room. And why can't you just call her without any video link?" Jessica asked. "I'm calling." Mark dialed his wife's number and after 5 rings, she answered. "Hello, Sarah, darling, what happened? What's with this strange message? Oh, and how did you wake up so early? You were unreachable all night, and here you are, available," Sarah said pointedly. "I was charging my phone. That's why I was available," Mark claimed. "I know exactly how a phone behaves on the charger. And here's what I'll tell you. I just took out my hunting rifle, cleaned it, oiled it, and adjusted the sight. Are you shooting at home? How else do you adjust a sight? Don't worry, we're in the suburbs. No one heard. I have a whole photo album of your pictures. Are you planning to shoot me?" Mark asked nervously. "Well, yes, if you step outside the garage. And to shoot is putting it strongly. My rifle is small caliber. At most it'll ruin your skin or knock out an eye." "Listen, tell me what happened," Mark pleaded. "Nothing, just that you were not in your room yesterday and spent the night there." "Well, dear, what about the things of my mistress that you unloaded in the garage?" "How should I know? I didn't open them," Sarah retorted. "Listen, don't anger me. You don't even know how angry I am. Let's start with the fact that the house where we live, I built while married to you. Do you want to talk about that? Then come in a bulletproof vest. How silly you are. My rifle has a scope. So, during our conversation, a vest won't help you, only hinder your escape. What do you want, to divorce me, you scoundrel?" Mark asked, panicked. "Sarah, but we loved each other, and we still love. We can't live without each other." "Yes, we did love, but then you drifted away and got involved with your first mistress, the first one that I know about." "Well, who was that? Your secretary Nancy?" Mark asked. "I didn't make a scene then. I spoke to her and put a couple of things straight, and her love for you immediately faded. And you know what a vivifying punch does. So she said it was her husband who beat her?" "No, he didn't beat her. He just roughed her up a bit. As far as I know, they're now divorced, and she's living with her mom, and her husband found another woman. But I see you're not denying your affair with her." "Well, yes, there were a couple of times. Why lie? She told me everything after the second hit. And how many times, where, and how? But her things were never in our house." "Am I talking about her things?" "I'm talking about Jessica's things, your ever-present assistant on business trips. Understand, it just happened." "I'm a lonely man on a business trip," Mark said lamely. "Hey, who set up this business trip? What good did it bring to the company where I appointed you as CEO?" "Well, I met with the client, settled some supply issues." "Who did you talk to? What agreements did you sign?" I talked with Alex, but we didn't sign any papers. Let's say, gentlemen's agreements. Sarah laughed bitterly. Don't make me laugh. Are you a gentleman? You've broken all your wedding vows, and now you're lying to me. You met with Alex? Did he tell you that he's been lying in the county hospital for a month, and that his company has stopped all work 2 weeks ago and today cannot supply us with products? They sent us a letter citing force majeure circumstances. It's lying on your desk. I didn't know, really. I was supposed to meet with Alex, so something has to be done to save our company from losses. Dear, I'm leaving immediately, Mark said hurriedly. Don't hurry. The company will be saved by Paul Anderson. He's been appointed as the CEO and has already taken measures. Who's Paul Anderson? You said the board meeting was only today. Do you think anyone will be against it? Who is Paul Anderson? Asked Jessica. That's all. Sarah ended the call. Mark looked at Jessica and asked, Who is Paul Anderson? Probably my husband. You heard everything. What are we going to do? I don't know, but I'm afraid to show up in town. I'll come, pick up my things, and leave for my mom's place. And what about my husband? You don't want to talk to him? Jessica asked. And what shall I tell him? How wonderfully I spent my business trips. He will grind me to dust. Listen, I don't want to get divorced. I lost everything because of you. I think you lost everything because of yourself, Mark said coldly. You broke the basic principle. Don't cheat where you live, and don't live where you cheat. You broke it too. I'm a weak, defenseless woman. I lost my husband and family because of you. What are we going to do now? Jessica wailed. There's no we anymore. We're not going to meet anymore. You didn't lose your husband because of me. You lost him because of your meetings with me. But these meetings don't suit me anymore. I want to get back to my wife and what I had, but definitely not you. Besides, you haven't even spoken to your husband yet. Maybe he'll forgive you. Call him. Jessica, after thinking it over, activated her phone and immediately received a barrage of text messages from her mother and a friend living in the adjacent apartment. Sighing, she called her mother. Mom, it's me. What happened? You texted me last night. Didn't you read them? I just woke up. What can I say? Late last night, Patrick called and said that you were gallivanting, and he's breaking up with you. Mom, he's making things up because he's mad that he's stuck at home with our son while I'm earning money on business trips. He even said he won't let you have our son. But our son is grown up and will decide for himself where he wants to live, and he told me he's with his dad and wants to live only with him. You should come to us. Patrick said he won't let you into his apartment and that he changed all the locks. Mom, I'm returning to the city today to sort this out. Having put the phone down with bitterness, Jessica said to Mark, There, he even informed my mom. Why didn't he deliver your things to her? Well, she doesn't live in the city. She's in the suburbs, 30 miles away by train, an hour's ride. Now I'll call my friend. She lives in the apartment across from ours. The friend answered immediately, Jess, hello. I've been calling you all night. Where have you guys been? Patrick was loading some stuff into a car last night. Into our car. No, there was some van. His car was in its place. No, he got behind the wheel, and your son was in the back seat, and they drove off but didn't come back. And also, my husband says your lock was broken, and Patrick installed new ones. I don't know what's going on there. I'm on a business trip and will arrive today in the afternoon, Jessica explained. Mark told Jessica, let's get dressed. There's another express train in about 40 minutes. We can make it. The station is just a few steps away. I'm in my room. 15 minutes later, having checked out, they made their way to the station. There, they managed to exchange their tickets for an earlier train and soon were sitting alone in their compartment. Mark instructed, we'll talk to my wife and your husband. Don't rush to admit anything. For the conversation with them, it's important to know how much they know and exactly what. You understand this might save us from divorce. Any doubts they have play into our hands, and you probably understand that. I don't want to lose my wife. What did she say about the rifle? Jessica asked. She used to do biathlon. She has a small caliber rifle, and she even wanted to buy a Saiga 410 carbine, but I talked her out of it. Although she already has the license for it. You know, I'll call my husband now and talk, but you stay silent, Jessica decided. Jessica dialed her husband. Patrick, what's going on? What's this about moving stuff out of our apartment? Jess, hello. Nothing's happening. Just that yesterday you moved out of my apartment. Your affair with Mark surfaced. I don't understand. What affair? What have you been doing these days? Patrick asked pointedly. We met with company representatives, conducted negotiations. Yes, I know their work is halted, but that doesn't mean everything has stopped, just paused. I'll tell you more. The company's management is wanted. The director you've been negotiating with all these days has been under guard in cardiology for a month, and no one is allowed to see him. A major theft of government funds. They may tell you where he is, but they can't find him. Patrick, I left here and will be in the city by noon. We need to talk. Great. Come straight to work. Write a resignation letter along with Mark, and come. Although I can fire you for other reasons, then you won't get a job anywhere else. You're kicking me out? Jessica asked, shocked. Not just you, but your lover too. And I'm kicking you out of both the job and my apartment. Patrick, it was just a small fling on my part, a one-time mistake. I'm sure we can get past this. One time? Over 3 months, 15 business trips? How many meetings and hotels in our city? Patrick scoffed. Understand, I just got carried away with him. But I love you, only you. I see your love, and so does our son, Patrick replied bitterly. Patrick, this fleeting closeness will forever remain in the past. I will never succumb to a momentary whim, no matter how much I am tempted, Jessica pleaded. I ask for one thing, give us a second chance. Any person, even me, can stumble or make a mistake. Understand, in the affair, we're both to blame. Try to understand me, for understanding is the way to forgiveness. Jess, forgiving is actually not that hard. The main problem is learning to trust again. And I no longer have any trust in you, and it's unlikely to appear. I moved your things to the garage of your lover. His wife initially didn't want to keep them, but then agreed with my view that you and Mark are possibly a new social unit meant to be together. Unfortunately, Mark's sister refused to take his stuff, and your stuff, of course. Mark's wife, Sarah, offered me a director's position at the company she founded. Listen, she's such a nice woman. That you're coming earlier is good. I'll help you with a vehicle to take the stuff to your parents or wherever Mark says. I really don't understand why you moved my stuff. Well, I just took care of you. You'll need them, and of course, you'll need a place to stay. I thought you could stay with Mark for a while. But his wife disappointed me, said she doesn't want to see you in her house. Probably the house will have to be sold as part of the divorce. Although all this is debatable, she thinks she'll talk to her husband and he'll forget about the house and, in general, about material claims. Do you have some strange questions? I'm somewhat surprised. What do you think was supposed to happen when I found out about your affair? Patrick asked angrily. Well, I really didn't anticipate and didn't consider a divorce. You thought you wouldn't get caught. Sorry, but I'm not going to continue this pointless conversation, Patrick said firmly. It went quiet. Jessica didn't say a word, just cried. Probably being caught isn't very pleasant. Patrick didn't wait for Jessica to burst out and finish the conversation, saying finally, Anyway, I'll wait for you in the office. The line went dead, and Mark, who had been silent all this time, admiringly said, Well, you really did it. What else? You even accused him of lying down with me. Well done. I wouldn't have thought of that. I need to take note of that. When I said that, you told him, understand, in the affair, we're both to blame. I meant that we both are guilty of what happened. He understood everything correctly. And now he's probably crying and already waiting for you on the platform from your business trip. Tears in his eyes, Jessica said sarcastically. The train quietly approached the station. Mark and Jessica were in no hurry to exit. It was the final stop, so there was no rush. They left their things in the luggage storage and went out to the square in front of the station, got into a taxi, and drove to the office knowing they were already fired. The usual hustle of employees dashing between offices, handling various matters on the fly, greeted them. Everyone politely acknowledged Mark and Jessica and hurried on with their tasks. In the reception area, the secretary said, Please go through. They're already waiting for you in the office. At the CEO's table sat Patrick, with Sarah beside him holding a cup of coffee, engaged in a heated discussion. When Mark and Jessica entered, the argument stopped, and Patrick invited them, Please, take a seat, then handed each a packet of documents, saying, These documents are prepared for you. For you, Mark, the first document is a decision by the board of directors to remove you from your position due to causing losses to the company. But you are not being dismissed. You are being offered a managerial position, and I think, as an honest person, which I doubt, you will write a resignation. Your dismissal does not save you from meeting with law enforcement. They need your explanation for the schemes you concocted with the company you often visited on business trips. I can explain, Mark began. You know, Mark, I don't need that. Sarah, are you interested in this? I already know. I had a lengthy discussion with the investigator. He will be interested in how money from that company's accounts ended up in our accounts and then disappeared. So we even have a new chief financial officer temporarily performing the old one's duties. We cannot fire her as she is in custody and will be dismissed only after her sentence becomes legally binding. How am I involved? The CFO stole. She should be responsible. Mark, you were the CEO, Patrick interjected, handing him a pen and paper. Mark sat down to write his resignation from the managerial position. Jessica addressed Patrick. I didn't know about any schemes. I wasn't involved. I know how much you investigated. I was just a girl for amusement. Naturally, they wouldn't inform me about anything. The main thing was not to share anything with me. But this means that we can overcome this. For me, it was just a light flirtation, a game. It didn't mean anything. You can't even imagine. My heart is broken. Our marriage became a game for you, our family a game. Did you ever consider that I and your son are real people? That Mark's wife is also a person who takes her marriage seriously? You played a game where your family was the stake, and you lost. But when I called you from the train, you were ready to talk about this. I'm ready to talk, but not to live with you. I don't want a divorce, Jessica pleaded. I didn't want a wife who cheats, but that's what I got. I can explain. I made a decision for myself, and we need to talk about it, Patrick said firmly. You ignored all our marriage vows. You spat on us, so I also made a decision for myself. I think we don't need to discuss your decision. What have you decided? I propose we settle our disagreements. Right now, we're going to the courthouse and filing for divorce. I object, and then, we have a son growing up, Jessica protested. Yes, I know, so here's a copy of the court petition. Your copy will be sent to your parents' address along with a summons. I recommend you also submit a resignation. But I need to live somehow. Unfortunately, due to Mark's concocted reasons, your position cannot be preserved. I offer you a job at our production site, far from the office, but you can get there by shuttle from your parents' home. Many from your town work there. The road is excellent, just about 30 minutes. I agree. When do I start? Today. Move your things to your parents. And if they ask about you and your son, they won't ask. Did you already tell them? Yes, last night when you were away in your room with your counterpart. They and their grandson told them everything. They called him early this morning. I was in the shower, then they called me back. I didn't hide anything. Basically repeated what I told them yesterday. You need to call them and talk. I called from the hotel. That's great. The truck for moving the stuff is parked. In Sarah's garage, we need to clear it out today, Patrick added. Sarah said to Mark, Mark, this also concerns you. And where will I take my stuff? I don't know. Deal with your sister yourself. As for me, I'm going home now, and will open the electric lock for you. Then I'll take my original position on the second floor of the house. Are you going to shoot at us? Mark asked nervously. Not at you, only at you. And how will you explain the shooting? I'll say that you decided to rob me. And wait a minute. Sarah began to rise from her seat, and Mark, knowing his wife's temper, understood everything and, jumping up, ran out of the office, almost knocking over Jessica and her chair. Sarah exclaimed, Well, I missed him. But I really wanted to hit him as soon as he walked in. All right, I'll go to the house and wait for him there. No point in keeping the car on the street because of their stuff. Jessica and Mark walked to the parking lot near the office where they got into a moving truck allocated to them for transporting their belongings. Mark said to Jessica, Sarah really flipped her lid. When we get to the garage, she's going to shoot me. Are you sure? I have no doubt. She might even lay you down next to me out of jealousy. Interesting how they all found out. We just got too bold. I think everyone in the office knew about us. You know, I'm scared to go for the stuff. Don't be scared. I think she won't touch you. I'm only worried about myself. As they drove, Sarah's car passed them. The loading of the belongings went surprisingly peacefully. First, they loaded Jessica's things. She had to go further. Then they loaded Mark's stuff. All this time, Mark warily glanced at the second-floor window. Finally, they finished, got into the truck, and drove off. Mark dialed his sister's phone. Hello, it's me. Yeah, I know, caller ID. You're probably already heading to me. Yes, you guessed right. I'm not a psychic. Sarah called and warned me. I talked with my husband, and we decided to let you stay for 2 months. Then your stuff goes to the dump. I'm not Sarah. I won't be ceremonial, and no women or drinking in the house, or you'll be out early. Why such disfavor? Don't corrupt my man and cause trouble. Understand, I'm a man too. But normal men your age don't live on the dump. That's right, I don't live there, but that's beyond the suburbs. 2 months left. In that time, Sarah will crawl back to me. Sarah, you know, she's invited to a dinner tonight celebrating the divorce. Who invited her? The new CEO of the company, Jessica's husband, Patrick. Yes, they're celebrating their divorce, having got rid of you. And how did they find out about us? I don't know. We'll have more time to talk. Jessica, having overheard the conversation, sadly said, people are getting married all around, and I'm stuck in a perpetual divorce. No, you're better off. We dug these labyrinths ourselves, Mark replied. I don't know that song. What are you going to do? Your husband wants a divorce. They partially unloaded Mark's things from the truck, and then Jessica drove alone to her parents' house. Her father silently helped unload the vehicle and carry the items into her childhood room. Afterwards, they sat down in the kitchen. Her mother set the table. Her father brought out some homemade whiskey, poured 3 glasses, and they drank in silence before finally eating. At last, her father said, Tell us what you've done. Why did your man throw you out and take your son? Dad, it's my fault, but I'll fix everything. Do you believe that's possible? I need to meet him one-on-one and talk. Tell me, was there an affair or not? Her father asked bluntly. There was, Jessica admitted. And what do you hope for? I saw him today, talked to him. And what did he say to you? Nothing good. I didn't think such innocent flirting would hurt him so much. But you said you slept with your lover, her father pointed out. I didn't intend to leave my family. It just happened. And let's just say, thanks to that, I was in a good position and had a decent salary. Her father spat and walked out of the kitchen. Her mother threw up her hands and said, Even your father couldn't bring himself to say what you've become. How shameful for a daughter and a grandson. Now we won't see them for a couple of days. Mark was summoned by an investigator about his relations with the company from a neighboring city, and from there, he didn't return. He was arrested. His wife, Sarah, immediately contacted the investigator, asking him not to arrest her husband since she needed to finalize their divorce. He explained that he couldn't help and told her, You can divorce him while he's in detention, it won't interfere. And when he's held criminally responsible, a prison sentence of no less than 3 years might even be useful. Sarah, being an assertive woman, secured a visit with Mark in the detention center, caused a scene, and when Mark was taken back to his cell, managed to hit him, breaking his nose. She was expelled from the detention center, but she achieved her goal. Mark signed the divorce papers. Meanwhile, Jessica tried to reconcile with her husband. She waited for him after work. Patrick was one of the last to leave the office, heading to his car, where she was waiting for him. He stopped and asked, What do you want? Patrick, I want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. But we have a son. I have a son. He knows everything and supports me. I want everything back the way it was. Unfortunately, that's impossible. Go back to the one you were running to. Don't you know he's been arrested? So you decided to come back? No, I know I made a terrible mistake, but I'm ready to fix everything. You want to justify yourself? I think there are no justifications for cheating, Patrick said firmly. Not exactly. Mark and I decided to part ways. It was our last meeting. So, the honeymoon phase is over, less romance? Patrick asked sarcastically. Yes, and he relaxed. Gifts only on holidays, compliments once a year. Considering what the investigator told, he stole quite a bit on your trips. Did he share it with you? I really didn't know what he was doing. Why did you agree to it then? Patrick pressed. I don't know. There was dissatisfaction in our relationship, small fights, and thoughts of cheating. I was worried about aging and losing my youth, and Mark beautifully courted me. He made me feel beautiful, desired, and young. So, by your logic, your cheating is my fault. No, I made that decision myself. And when it happened, I regretted it immediately, but then got carried away. It was the novelty of the relationship, feeling wanted and loved, while you and your son were always busy. Yes, we were a bit busy preparing a surprise for you. But then it turned out that the surprise was on us, Patrick said bitterly. However, meeting here is good. I filed for divorce. In my application, I stated that our son can decide who he wants to live with, but don't get your hopes up. He's staying with me. Patrick, I will object. I believe we can preserve our family. Sorry, Jess, I see that you don't hear me. You destroyed the family. What's left of it can't be saved. Sorry, I have to go now. Jessica returned home and went into the kitchen where a registered letter addressed to her lay on the table. Her mother said, A letter arrived for you. I signed for it. The mailwoman, our neighbor, said it's a summons from the court. Jessica opened the envelope. It contained a lawsuit and a summons. She reviewed the lawsuit. Patrick didn't demand anything extraordinary. He wanted a divorce, refused any financial claims, and asked the court to let their son stay with him. The court hearing was in 10 days. She decided to consult a lawyer the next day. The lawyer gave her a general idea of how divorce proceedings go and what she could request from the court. She learned that she could delay the court's decision for 3 months, under good circumstances, even longer, but it was extremely difficult. Nonetheless, 10 days later, Jessica was in court. Patrick also came, with his lawyer and their son. The judge spoke with the participants and offered them a month for reconciliation. Patrick immediately after the hearing took their son and left. Jessica went to her branch office, feeling that reconciliation between them was currently impossible. She hoped for some miracle. Her parents spoke little to her. Mostly her mother spoke. Her father withdrew into himself, typically retiring to his room when she came home from work. On one of the weekends, she called Patrick and asked, "Patrick, can I meet with our son? You need to arrange that in advance. Today we have plans, and a meeting is unlikely. Could I come with you?" "No, that's not possible. For such a meeting, I must talk to our son. If he says no, there won't be a meeting." Time passed, and the court session took place. The court decided, considering their son's opinion, to leave him with his father. The marriage was dissolved. Patrick and Jessica no longer met, though she periodically called, trying to arrange a meeting with her son. He avoided her and did not engage. Jessica saw Patrick from a distance and only heard news about him through rumors. She never imagined how her little fling could lead to this. She now understood that she was responsible for the breakdown of the family, but it was already too late.